You are about to join us on a journey through our planet's wondrous oceans. Everything you are about to see was filmed in 360 degrees, so you may see our camera crew or their bubbles at times. This is intentional. We want you to feel like you were there with us. Our goal is not to bombard you with facts about what you are seeing, but to let you experience these special encounters in your own way. The experience simulates an actual scuba diving profile, descending initially to 120 feet deep before taking a long, winding trip back up to the surface. Our dive begins and ends in the kelp forests at Catalina Island's iconic Casino Point Dive Park, with stops in the waters of Mexico, Hawaii, Tonga, New Zealand, Australia, the Maldives, Mozambique, South Africa, and the Caribbean. There is nothing like the first moments of a dive. When we perform our last equipment checks and begin our descent into the water, when the sound of our breathing fills our ears and we leave, however temporarily, our landborne problems aside, to be immersed in what feels like a new world. What would it be like to fly through the forest, passing the birds at eye level? Here in Catalina, when we descend through the kelp, this is exactly what we are doing. Flying through the top of giant kelp that can reach up to 100 feet, as high or higher than most of the trees you'll find on land. Like in any forest, we are surrounded by creatures seen and unseen. Bright orange Garibaldi swim by, along with schools of small chromis. Calico bass and sheephead are hiding too. And then there are the giant sea bass that can grow to over 7 feet long and weigh as much as 500 pounds, who watch us as we continue our journey down. When we think of the ocean, we often think of the many creatures that call it home. But they are not the only marvels underneath the waves. Like everywhere else on Earth, the elements, water, wind, and fire in the form of volcanoes, have shaped ocean rock, creating underwater mountains, caves, valleys, and beaches. As we continue to descend into the cooler water, we encounter some of these amazing formations and the animals such as stingrays that live within them. One of the things that strikes me most as a diver is the changing light. As we go deeper, we enter a world with less and less red, as that color is most quickly absorbed by the water. Without our lights, we wouldn't see any red. If we go deep enough, or enter a cave, we find ourselves in a world with hardly any light at all. Depth has a considerable impact on the human body, from the rate at which we use air to the rate at which we can expel nitrogen. As a result, our time at the bottom is limited, and we begin our long ascent up vast fields of plating corals. Fortunately, these same restrictions mean we must descend slowly, taking our time to explore. Sometimes, when we least expect it, nature serves as our guide. As we were filming these lava tubes and tunnels, large green turtles, which are threatened with extinction, accompanied us along the way. Another thing about being underwater that never ceases to amaze me is just how many different shapes of animals there are. There are so many ways to live on this earth and adapt to the environment. Take, for example, these filter-feeding manta rays, with their broad pectoral fins giving them the appearance of underwater birds, and cephalic fins directing water and plankton into their mouths. And then there is the close cousin of the manta, the shark. Honed by millions of years of evolution, the muscle-dense shape and razor-sharp teeth of these gray nurse sharks helps them thrive as an apex predator. Bull sharks use stealth and speed to surprise their prey. It's tempting to see the ocean as idyllic, but just as on land, issues of life and death play out continuously. One way that small, vulnerable fish in the ocean protect themselves is through the formation of bait balls that expose the fewest number of fish to predatory attack. Sometimes their numbers are truly unfathomable. not all fish are small. This whale shark, accompanied by symbiotic remora fish, is the largest fish in the sea, growing to an enormous 40 feet or more by filter feeding on tiny plankton. Air-breathing mammals also come to investigate, like this humpback whale and her calf. Sea lions and seals take curious glances at our camera. We are getting low on air now, but as we perform our safety stop in 15 feet of water, we realize there is still so much wonder to be found, like this rare dugong, a relative of the manatee, swimming in the shallows of Mozambique. Or this squadron of 26 Caribbean reef squid flying in formation. With Casino Point Theater visible at the surface, we know that we are approaching the end of our dive back on Catalina Island. all too soon, we're back at the surface. Thank you for joining us. As a part of our commitment to ocean conservation, we donate 10% of our profits to conservation groups affiliated with this project so that they can continue their amazing work protecting our oceans. You've made a real difference,